you've had success in sales, and then like even after having success and running your own product launch company for years, super successful, the dot-com hits, and then you even go through a point in time where you're in crisis mode. And you said that went for years?
Yes.
Like, okay, so you lose your two big clients, your whole year is shot, right?
That year was shot.
And you're trying to find yourself, right? You find
then I get the existential crisis.
Yeah, the existential crisis, like what does one do? And I like to call sometimes I like to call this like when you get stuck or whatever, and you're just trying to figure out, like you're at a low point, and you're trying to get unstuck.
I mentioned to people that I didn't have any clients, and other people, I'd say, you guys have any trouble? I just like, God, this is awful. Nobody's answering the phone. And then they'd say, God, I'm having the same trouble. And once I realized that it wasn't me, that the market had shifted.
Interesting.
Then I detached from it because I thought I lost my mojo. And I detached from it personally, and then I treated it as a challenge. Like, how do I solve this particular problem? If nobody's answering the phone and nobody's responding to my emails, what do I have to do to get a response? And so then I became curious. And once I get curious, I throw myself in and start studying things and analyzing.
The curiosity again, like you had when you first got at Xerox.
Right. Now I'm got to learn it again. That something's out there, and there was a single book. Every book out there assumed at that time that you were sitting in front of a client. It's like I'm going, well, that's great, but how do I get there? I know what to do when I'm there, but I can't get there.
Wow.
And so then I became a sponge again and immersed myself. And then I came back and started experimenting and crafting, and I finally got my own business back and got it up and running. What is it that I'm doing that's replicable here? There's a process. I am rolling out a process, and it is now effective every single time. I can guarantee that I'll get in touch with somebody, 8 to 10 touches, and the messaging should be like this. But I had to take myself out of it and say, how can I make it so that it is a process that other people can use depending on what market they're in, who they're selling to. And so that's what I've been doing ever since then. And
so that's another lesson, was like reverse engineer other people's success. Like you just said everything. So like if you want to do something, go study and reverse engineer the people that have already done it.
Right. When I put up my first website, I looked at over 200 websites of people who were in similar businesses to me, and there were only about 5 or 10 that I liked, and then I stopped on them. Some of them I looked at and went and was gone in 2 seconds. But the ones that captured my attention, I would write down and I would analyze what they were doing to capture my attention. And then I built my first website based on that.
I started to lead a team of salespeople, and it was a mixed age range. One of the things, similar to you, younger, very driven, very passionate. And when you go into leadership quite young, you end up having to lead people that are often older than you and more experienced. And one of the things I learned in that is how to effectively lead and inspire and motivate salespeople of different backgrounds, of different ages, different experiences.
That's awesome.
Learn through trial and error. Some things don't always work out, but my time there really helped me hone in what I needed to do on a daily basis to get the best out of my team.
And what were some of those things?
Yeah, treat everyone individually. There really is no blanket when it comes to a sales team. Everyone has their own individual motivations, their own backgrounds, their own needs. So it's get to know and learn about each of them and treat them all individually, but whilst creating a team culture and energy that every time they're in, they're ready and, raring to go.
Yeah, I love that. It's some of the best like basketball teams, football teams. I hear about the coaches where they like interview each individual player for hours trying to figure out like what motivates them, what inspires them, what keeps them hungry. And then the coach will customize the game plan to them based on how they play. It sounds like that's what I learned there. And it's what I took to every role thereafter. Every time I joined a team, the first thing I did was sit down with everyone individually. And I might spend an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours with them, just getting everything about them on the table so that I could then know what I needed to do to lead them effectively.
Like I am starting to see artificial intelligence and machine learning be in the 2020s what I saw social and digital be in 2012.
Good. I'm in the right space.
We'll get into that in the future, but ultimately, here's what I have learned. Being a jack of all trades gets you nothing.
I love that secret. That's a great micro secret. Like, don't try to be everything to anyone.
If you are not number 1 or 2 at one thing, don't do it at all. You have to literally be the best. And you may not be able, like, building a service-based business around social and digital selling, we're not going to be $1 billion company. But what we can be is really successful, and the definition of successful is different for every person, but you can be very successful. You just pick that niche. And we went all in and built a training program around the problem, which was pipeline creation, business development.
So you basically learned about, you said these 6 pillars, right? Email, run through those 6
Voicemail,
again real quick.
Email, phone call, video messaging, direct mail, and then social media. And now we have the SMS.
Yeah. I even think video in SMS is an interesting one to play around with too. Like what if I had your cell phone, like using Seamless or another platform, and I send you a cold video SMS? That's hard to like ignore.
You can't get away from it.
My VP of sales is dying to do cold video SMS.
I think it's a great idea. And here, listen, you know, as long as you stay professional and you really focus on who the person is. I mean, most people in the market, they're there they want to stay educated on what things are out there, right? So I mean, you know, if you call the CEO of a software company and you talk to them about janitorial services, they're going to throw you off the phone. If you call the CEO and talk about risk and certain things within the organization he cares about, he may not want to buy something from you, but he may be interested in why other companies are investing in your company to do that. So at least I think for the most part, the 80%ers out there are open to receiving the messaging. And if they don't want to receive it, they'll let you know. And I think that, you know, it's hard. It's funny because a lot of times when I get these negative responses to any sort of marketing activity, whether it's calls, emails, or video, or whatever it may be, the people that seem to be the harshest on us, I look at their business and go, your entire organization is built on sales. You're doing the same thing to your market set, and you're giving me a hard time about trying to be professional and ask if you have interest in learning more about what I'm doing.
Right.
Don't get deterred, you know, by the people that respond to you like that. You kind of just shrug it off and move to the next person.
And the education that I take from this is, you know, well, several lessons. First of all, you never put anything in a proposal that you haven't already discussed with the buyer. You know, in my mind, a proposal should be documenting the understandings that you've already reached. Right? And surely never send pricing in an email or document until it's been discussed. So, you know, one thing is proposals are not where you communicate information, it's where you document information. And never, ever, ever send a document to someone who's going to have important information disclosed, because you can't know how the person's going to react, you can't know how they're going to take it. And if they take it badly, you're not there to calm them down. Right? This guy stewed for 2 days over this proposal before we ever got a chance to talk to him and try to iron it out. And the other thing I'd say is that, you know, we've come to over-rely on electronic communication. I mean, I see people send emails all the time. There's long, complex emails with all kinds of important information that's been, being shared with buyers for the first time. Like, do not send that email. That is a conversation. That's not that. And he said, well, he said just send me an email with my thought. Like, I know what he said, but he's not in charge of the sales process. You are.